I just want to clarify what the status quo is. So I mean, if we're amending the status quo, is it so? Let's use Preston's example, or let's say there's a gay employee and it's discovered that they're gay, and the person that works there, like the owner of the business or whatever, you know what, I just am not comfortable having somebody, like Preston. They believe it's a choice, and I just don't want, I'm just not comfortable with that. Can they fire that person?
Well, I mean, there's already current federal and state law that prohibits sex discrimination and sexual harassment in the workplace. But I think the important thing to consider here is think about the employer who has deeply held religious convictions about some of these moral issues in our times. And are their First Amendment rights going to be violated, and are their religious freedoms going to be constrained in making employment decisions and making business decisions about who's going to serve at their front desk as receptionists, or who's going to be dealing with their clients and their customers because of this ordinance? Are their hands going to be tied to making decisions about the type of character of their employees and the type of presentation that they're presenting?
But right now, if someone is found to be, for whatever the reason, they come out of the closet,
or
not
even that they come out, just somebody's like, "Did you know Frank is gay?" I mean, like, let's say they just discovered it's something that somebody's keeping quiet, but somebody sees somebody out somewhere and it becomes an issue. I mean, what current protections do people have? I mean, homophobia is a real thing. I'm not saying it's widespread, but it's out there. I think some people would clearly feel discriminated against. Do they have a recourse currently?
Yeah, well, I think you could, you could be in touch with the Human Rights Commission, the state commission, and they would indicate that they would not reject on the face any complaint that's given to them. They would give it due process and be able to evaluate it, and perhaps if it's legitimate, take some steps to try to seek recourse. But the point is that this ordinance is not meeting a demonstrated need in our community. There's been no cases brought forward that demonstrates that this is needed. And so you have to ask the question, what is the logical reason then that this very small group of activists, most of the motivation from this, I think, actually comes from Equality Florida, a group out of Tampa. Why would they want to come into Leon County and try to shove this down the throats of the rest of our citizens in our county?
We're going to continue our discussion. Nathan Dunn's with us, Vice President with Florida Family Policy Council. We're talking about the homosexual rights ordinance. There's going to be a scheduled public hearing. We'll talk about all the kind of the machinations of what's going to happen and how and when next, right here on the Morning Show on 100.7 FM WFLA. All right, we're talking about a homosexual rights ordinance that is set to come before the Leon County Commission in the form of a discussion on whether to hold a public hearing or not. I think the thinking, Nathan Dunn's with us with the Florida Family Policy Council. I think the thinking, Nathan, is that Tuesday night is a formality. Mm-hmm. You don't view it that way.
Well, no, I think the vote coming up on Tuesday night will be really a career-defining vote for the commissioners on this issue, whether they're going to stand up for the employers, for the churches. I mean, the churches, and one quick point to make there that I didn't get into earlier is that this is going to place churches in a position of having to be very careful as they evaluate their employees and who they hire. There's no protection in the religious exemption for hiring employees that are not responsible for religious nature jobs. So you think about the janitorial staff, the administrative staff, lots of different positions that this policy could be tested at every single church in our community. And so that's why a lot of pastors, I think, are speaking out to the commission, church members around the community, and will show up next Tuesday. And the significance of next Tuesday is that this has already had one vote that went forward by a 4-3 majority. Obviously not a huge majority there.
And I want to just chronicle here. Commissioners Akinyemi, Daly, Ratcliffe, and Thale voted in favor. Commissioners Deloge, Proctor, and Sauls voted against. Continue.
That's correct. And so I think what we have before us on Tuesday is the opportunity for the commissioners who voted in favor of this, now that they've gotten a lot more input from the community, to really have a reasoned approach to be able to say, look, this was something we gave it a fair hearing and a consideration. We realize that it's uncharacteristic of our community to need to move forward on such a proposal. And so we're encouraging people to communicate, with their commissioners, let them know how they feel about this issue. I think it was particularly surprising. I mean, this issue, and it was clear during the hearing on the 23rd that Bob Ratcliffe, this is kind of his personal project. He made it very clear because of his family situation. This is personal to him. It's something that he feels like is important to impose upon the rest of the county. But I think what was really shocking is some of the other commissioners who voted yes. I mean, I did not at all expect John Daly to be standing on the side of the homosexual activist on this issue. And I'm very hopeful that he's been able to discuss and consider this issue more thoughtfully before the vote on Tuesday.
Yeah, John Daly and Cliff Thale, two of the guys
Yes.
that are supporting it. They're both up for re-election this year, so I'm sure that's something that you're looking at. Let me just ask you, just since you use the church janitorial example, right? And I don't know, so I'm just trying to find out what's the law now. If somebody applies for a position as a janitor, is a church or any other organization allowed to ask, "Are you gay?" I mean, is that
No, I don't think that's allowed in job applications.
So I'm just trying to envision a scenario in which someone would be, like a church would be forced to hire someone that was, I mean, how would they even know he was gay?
Well, I mean, you could come up with a number of hypothetical situations, but the point is that churches are going to be placed in a position where they're going to be fearful of if somebody comes to them for a position, whether it's an associate pastor position or whether it's their sound tech or whatever, they're going to have to make decisions based on this ordinance now, and they're going to have to evaluate: is this person's job of a religious nature, or do they still have the freedom based on their constitutional rights to say, look, our church has certain tenets and beliefs and understandings from the Bible or from what other faith book that the church is run by, and we want to live by those. We want the freedom in our community to be able to make decisions based on our freedom of religion.
What's your understanding as to why the Charter Review put this back to the commission and decided not to? I mean, they voted, as Preston's mentioned, it was an 8-8 vote. So it, therefore, it will not be on the ballot this year. Just what's your understanding of the way that whole process went down?
Well, I think the key backstory there is that the Charter Review Committee, I mean, it's my understanding that would have to go out to a vote as a referendum to all the people in the county. And so
Correct.
I think what we're realizing is that the advocates for this realize they don't have the support here in Leon County for such a radical social change in our community. I mean, if you go back to 2008 when we voted on the marriage amendment, protecting the definition of marriage between a man and a woman in the Florida Constitution, Leon County went 55% in favor of that. And so they don't see the support in the community for such a radical change, especially in enshrining these type of characteristics into the non-discrimination laws.
Well, the bottom line then is that I've got a note here from someone that attended all of the Charter Review Committee meetings, and they said that requested by the LBGT community to not put it up for a vote to the people. They didn't want it passed in the Charter Review Committee. They thought they had a better shot of just winning 4 votes versus winning the majority in the community.
Well, absolutely. And if you had witnessed this dialogue on March 23rd, I mean, Bob Ratcliffe especially was trying to ram this through very quickly and under the radar. And, very inappropriate to not bring this out and let it be aired out in the community and look at the real implications, the detrimental effects to the local business community and the religious community of this homosexual rights ordinance.
Well, again, folks, you can look at the ordinance in all of its glory, at least in a summary basis. 12 pages of unbelievable nonsense in my mind, but that's just me. On our website at WFLAFM.com. Nathan, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Preston.